What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of High Mythology, the show where we get higher than the blue fairy that was cut out of the OG Pinocchio. Tonight, Kim's coming at you guys with some mythology from the Hungarians. I hear a lot of dragon slang. Shall be about some wooden boy action, little wooden boy action. Yeah. So without further ado, Kim, go ahead, take it away.
Fuck yeah! I chose these stories because I thought for sure you would have some good jokes.
I hope I do. Now you put me way up here on a pedestal.
Well, I thought like they were more like my Disney type of stories, and you always make fun of me for watching them.
I do. I mean, yeah, one of them is a Disney story, but yeah,
Pretty much.
pretty much. The OG, probably way worse, darker.
All right, so this one's called Sebastian the Dragon Slayer.
Sebastian. Under the sea.
No.
And a different Sebastian.
No.
But I am going to picture him as a crab.
Okay. There'll be a minute before we get to him. Once upon a time, there was a very poor man and his 3 sons. They were so poor that they could not even afford a single grain of rice. So the 3...
Damn! Your mama's so poor.
Just gonna throw that out there, huh?
Yeah. Can't even afford a grain of rice.
All right. So the 3 boys decided to go see the king and tell him of their misfortune. The king was actually a very powerful wizard and saw what the boys intended to do in his giant crystal ball. He took his magical shepherd staff and transformed himself into an old man shepherd.
Damn. Wizard King.
Well, like, the stories, they depict him as like in his 30s. And so he just transforms
Well, he's a
himself
wizard
into
king.
like
If he can transform himself, of course he's always going to be in his 30s.
But he has a magical shepherd staff. So he decides to turn himself into a shepherd, an old man shepherd.
An old shepherd.
So as the 3 boys were traveling, they came across the king in disguise as a shepherd, who was grazing his sheep on the hillside. The eldest son said, "Ah, if these sheep were mine, I would give one to every poor man who asked." The old shepherd heard what he said, and said to the eldest brother, "Then from this moment on, you shall be the shepherd here, and the sheep shall be yours." He took his magical shepherd staff and waved it in front of the eldest brother. The elder brother's tattered clothes changed into a full-on shepherd's ensemble.
Which is also tattered clothes.
No, they had those big puffy jackets and shit like that because they were out there all night and shit.
I know. But I just imagined like a tattered ass, like shepherd, fucking old shepherd with no shoes.
Oh, these ones have shoes.
Yeah, the wizard just made him age 30 years. Bing! Now you're a shepherd. What?
And so, the other 2 brothers continued on their journey with the old man with them. Some time passed, and they come to a field of hawthorns, which are like these prickly fucking bushes with red little berries on them. And the second brother stops and plucks a branch of the hawthorn berries. He sighs while turning to his brother and the old man and says to them, "If only these were grapevines in the field, and not hawthorn.
If only it were grapes.
If only these grapevines were mine, I would give a vine of plump grapes to every poor man." The old man smiled and said, "Then let the fields be yours." And the old man waved his magical shepherd staff and continued to say,
"Ka-chow! Boom! You're a vineyard guy now."
"And instead of a field of hawthorn, let it be a vineyard." And all the hawthorn transformed into a huge vineyard. The second brother's tattered rags turned into a harvester's garb and stayed to tend the vineyard.
And a snooty attitude.
Probably.
I work at a vineyard. I'm a sommelier.
Like this Cabernet.
Cabernet. Try this good Flabernet from Florence.
Nice. And so, the third brother and the old man continued on their journey. Because again, the old man is headed home. He is the king after all. He's just fucking following the kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
He knew.
The last kid's gonna get him with the one they're gonna come across a group of chicks, and it's gonna be a super attractive chick with her less attractive friend, and he's gonna look at the wizard and be like,
I want to be
"If
their
only
friend."
I could sleep with the ugly one, I would fall on all the grenades for the kingdom." Ka-cha-cha-cha-cha!
All right.
All right. Well.
They continue on their journey, and after some time passes, they come across a river that was about 5 miles wide. The young man looks up and down at the gentle stream of the river and says to the old man, "If only I were the ferryman here, I would take everyone to the far banks and not ask for even a penny." And the old shepherd waves his magical shepherd's staff, and a boat and a dock appear on the water.
Ka-cha-cha-chow!
And the youngest brother's clothes transformed into a ferryman's clothes.
Ferryman, go! Can I have my old clothes back? These ferryman robes are creepy.
And so the king headed home by himself. A couple years later, the king wanted to check in on the brothers. He transformed himself into a poor beggar and hit the road. He came across the eldest brother tending his sheep, and the old beggar man leaned down to pet one of the sheep and says to the eldest brother, "You have so many fine sheep, my son. Would you give me one?" The eldest brother huffs and says,
Fat chance, bozo.
"If I give you one of my sheep to everyone who happens by, and in the end I would have not a single sheep to my name."
That's how you lose all your sheep. It's called business. And if you knew about it, you wouldn't be a beggar.
Jesus.
Anyway, I actually bet you're just faking it, and you probably have a nice house somewhere, and you take off those robes, and you go back home to your nice house.
Dick.
I don't even think you're really needy. Funny thing is, he's right, because it's the king.
Yeah, that is true.
I would, but you don't seem like an actual beggar.
The old man waves his hand, and his magical shepherd staff suddenly appears in his hand.
Ka-cha-cha-chow!
And he waves his staff, and all the sheep turn into boulders. The old man waves his staff
Rock
again,
sheep.
and the eldest brother turns into a magnificent statue.
Boom!
Then
Statue
the old
man.
man taps his staff on the ground. What is it? And lets it go. And the staff slowly disappears.
Ka-chow!
And the old man continues on his way to visit the second brother.
On my way to see that other asshole.
The old beggar finds the enormous vineyard and comes across the second brother and says to him, "What a lovely vineyard you have here, dear boy. Could you give me a vine or two?" The old man reaches out for a vine, but the second brother slaps his hand away and says angrily,
Sita!
"I will not give you a vine, not even a cluster of withered grapes."
Not even my worst grapes.
And so the old beggar waves his hand, and his magical shepherd's staff appears in his hand.
I now see the error of my ways.
He waves his staff, and all the grapevines turn back into hawthorn bushes. He waves the staff again, and the second brother turns into a giant tree.
Tree man.
He taps his staff on the ground and lets it go again, and it disappears. The old man continued on his journey and comes to the riverbank, to the boat dock, and yells, Come across the water, ferryman. I must get across." Across the river, the youngest brother built a house and got himself a wife, who at that time was in labor, getting ready to give birth.
Oh, king guy, you can't fuck with him.
So the youngest brother ran to his neighbor and asked the woman of the house could watch his wife and make sure she wasn't alone to give birth, and they agreed and went over to help. The youngest brother got back into his boat and drove across the river to the old man, who had been waiting for some time. And the old man gets into the boat, and they go back across the river, and they made it safely.
Good job,
the old
ferryman.
man tried to offer the youngest brother a gold coin, but he refused to take it. Meanwhile, screams of labor pain could be heard, and soon the cry of a baby. And the two ran to check in on them. The youngest brother and his wife had a fine, happy, healthy boy, and they named him Sebastian. That was actually perfect timing.
Yeah, Sebastian.
Nice. The old man transformed
a crab
himself.
boy. Under the sea.
Well, he was born next to it.
Next to the sea.
So the old man transformed himself back into his original appearance, the king, and the third brother and his wife enjoyed the king's company. And they named the king Sebastian's godfather.
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably asked him at some point, like, did you see my brothers when you were out and about?
No, he probably never said anything.
No. I haven't seen them. Why? Did you hear something?
So 20 years rolled by, and the king still often visited with the family, usually always in disguise as an old man. Gotta, stay in disguise.
He's got all that magic disguise power.
One day, the king gave Sebastian a magical sword and said, if you chant these words, sword, sword, sharp and true, mighty sword, slice its head in two. It will slice the head off of any foe you come across.
You just got to say that weird little riddle first.
Mm-hmm. They embrace in a warm hug, and Sebastian thanks him a great deal. The king continued to say, go and see the king in another nearby land, for they are in need of as many shepherds as there are days in a year.
Oh, have you seen my uncle? He was a super good shepherd. I heard he went upstate and left a statue and some rocks.
The king waves his magical shepherd staff, and Sebastian's ensemble is now that of a shepherd's. The king continues to say, I didn't want to be a
shepherd, though.
But do not ask for a high wage, no more than 12 coins. Play on your pipe and drive the flock deep into the rosemary forest, and fear nothing.
Fear nothing while you play on your pipe.
They hugged one more time, and Sebastian said his goodbyes to his parents and left home. He traveled for several days and finally came across the kingdom his godfather had told him about.
So happy the king is my godfather, and he offered me a job working for someone else for $12 an hour max.
Jesus. It's not bad. Well, that's for a month or a year usually.
Jeez.
That's like 1 gold coin a month.
That's less than normal living wage.
Mm-hmm. So, Sebastian is introduced to the king of that land and asks, Your Majesty, do you have need of a shepherd in your kingdom? Yes, indeed I do, said the king. And he took the boy into his service. He tells Sebastian, take the flocks out to graze and play your pipe as you watch over them, but do not go over the bridge. Thank you.
Sorry, I just...
For if you do, you will surely meet your death.
Play your pipe, but do not cross the bridge.
Jesus. That does sound terrifying.
They like smooth, soft jazz, though. So if you know any Kenny G, they would love that. But beyond the bridge awaits your doom.
Nice. So Sebastian somewhat agreed. He went to the small field and played his pipe, and suddenly 100 sheep from all around the field came to Sebastian as he played.
You hear this?
He opened the gate
solid
and led
Kenny
the
G
sheep
covers.
out. I like to think it was kind of like Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. I like to think he had a flute and he was playing Jethro Tull. Hey, Aqualung!
Well, I mean, it is like a Pied Piper, so it'd be like a little flute.
Yep. He's got the flute.
And it's Hungarian.
Oh, I like to also imagine that he did the one leg up, the fucking flautist.
Was he headbanging too?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Headbanging. One leg perched up on the other, playing some Jethro Tull.
So he opened the gate and led the sheep out of the kingdom. He led them across the bridge and into the rosemary forest. The king saw them cross the bridge from a window and thought to himself, oh shit, there goes another shepherd and all my sheep.
Oops.
Sebastian went deep into the rosemary forest.
So deep.
And stopped next to a stream. Was he
playing his pipe next to the stream?
Yeah, he was.
He
took off his cloak and laid it by the water and continued to play his pipe.
Okay, now he's just masturbating. That
a
is
few
very
moments
clear.
go by, and suddenly the river starts to rush and swirl, And then up pops a 7-headed dragon, spraying water all over.
Oh, that's sploosh.
Nice. So the dragon looks down at Sebastian and says, "What the fuck?
What the fuck, bro?
What strange winds have brought you here?"
Put your dick away. We're having a conversation. This is a public park.
"Do you seek the same unhappy fate as your other shepherds who came before you?" Sebastian stood up and pulled out his sword. Now you have me thinking the worst. God damn you sometimes.
Yeah. He put away his pipe and pulled out his sword.
Mm-hmm. He calmly asked the dragon, "Why? What fate befell them?" And the dragon's heads all roared and says, "If you are this bold to ask, we will show you." And the 7 heads roared again and charges Sebastian.
Roar.
Sebastian lifts his sword above his head and cries out, "Sword,
What's that
sword,
fucking riddle?
sharp and true. Mighty sword, cut its head in two."
Sword, sword, sword.
Sebastian's sword flew off
Starlight.
on its own and quickly sliced it off all 7 heads of the dragon.
Living sword.
And they all thudded to the ground.
Thud.
The sword calms down and finds its place on Sebastian's hip. The next day,
That's scary.
he slept by that river, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah, he had
we'll
to
find
finish
that.
playing his pipe. He wasn't quite done yet.
Sebastian is still by the river, I guess. Again, must have been from whatever.
Yeah, he's just
He
chilling
was
by the
eating
river.
his breakfast, and suddenly a 9-headed dragon emerged from the river.
2 more heads than your friend over there.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the 9-headed dragon, it did no better than the 7-headed dragon it did before.
No. And it also caught him while he was still playing with his pipe, so he didn't get to finish.
It couldn't even make it to the banks of the river. All of its heads had plopped into the sea, and
Plop.
its head and body floated away. Sebastian starts to play his pipe and leads the herd back to the kingdom. He gets there, packs more food, and leads the sheep back to the riverbank, deep in the rosemary forest.
The king's gotta just be watching like, what the fuck is this guy doing with my sheep?
He does, pretty much. As Sebastian was playing the pipe and crossing the bridge, the king looks out his window and sees Sebastian headed out. The king could not fathom what had happened.
That
Or
dude
until
was feeding his
Sebastian
dick
came
and leading
along.
my sheep along.
Before Sebastian had come along, he had lost a shepherd every day for a whole year. 365.
That
Holy
is,
shit.
I wonder if he put that out in the job ad.
Maybe move your kingdom?
What happened to my predecessor?
Or travel-
A dragon with a number of heads.
Take the fucking herd somewhere else? Maybe? You know what I mean?
But it's my
Jesus.
sheep.
I will give this little thought,
I like
says
to let
the
my
king.
sheep in the rosemary.
Wow. I'm gonna keep that all marinated and
I
shit.
like to let my sheep in the rosemary for the dragons.
Jesus. Okay, so the king says, "I will give this little thought. And I will wait to see what the fates have in store for this young lad."
I actually don't care about those sheep, so I'm going to go
guess
back
not.
to all this
All
kingery.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sebastian makes it back to the same river spot with his flock, and he goes back to the riverbank, bends a knee, and scoops up some water to drink.
Skip.
As he was drinking, the river starts to shake and splash about, and suddenly a 12-headed dragon
I've seen this one before.
from the water.
With all those heads.
The dragon looks down at Sebastian and angrily roars at him, saying, "How dare you come to this place?" Sebastian quickly draws his sword and quickly yells out, "Sword, sword, sharp and true. Mighty sword, cut this head in two."
Cut his head in two.
And the sword flew off by itself. It cut 11 of the 12 heads off and goes back to Sebastian's hand. The last dragon head was hiding to where the sword couldn't get to it.
I'm sneaky.
And the last head
I'm
cries
the
out,
sneaky head.
"Mercy! Please, Dragon Slayer, please let me keep my last head, and I swear I will serve you."
Mercy.
Sebastian agrees and asks where the dragon had been living this whole time. The dragon says, "It's not far, follow me." And so the dragon leads Sebastian to his lair. Turns out the dragon's been living under the fucking bridge in a cave.
Mm-hmm. I knew that something
And that
was up with that bridge.
was the only way in and out.
Uh-huh.
Only way in
Yeah,
and
just
out
go
of the kingdom.
out to the woods, play with your pipe, hang out with the sheep. But beware the bridge.
So if you think about it, the king is a fucking idiot. Holy shit.
The king is pretty... He really doesn't give a fuck.
If the fucking dragons have been right there under the goddamn bridge this whole time, are you fucking kidding me?
Your Highness,
Poor choice.
There's dragons under the bridge. I'm a king.
Take care of it.
I'm getting 3 blowjobs and a pile of gold. I don't care about dragons. I'm on some Game of Thrones shit over here.
It's about to get Game of Thrones upon you. Sebastian looks inside the cave and is astonished.
Astonishment.
Completely speechless. Inside the cave was another realm. Its own sun and moon, its own forests, rivers, oceans, mountains.
Dragon realm.
And it's only one kingdom. So it was just one kingdom that was like inside of a fucking cave. It was huge. It was enormous.
Fucking kingdom.
Like a fucking realm. Portals, man. They like portals.
Yeah, I like portals.
They do too.
He also likes portals.
He also sees all the shepherds and their sheep that the dragons had taken over the year. And they were missing like 90% of the shepherds. There was like 20 or some shit left. Maybe 400 sheep.
Oh, look at that.
It was hard to tell.
What have the dragons been doing with the sheep?
Dude, it was hard to tell because the story says all of them, but like the picture affiliated with it had like 20 shepherds in the middle of like 400 sheep with a kingdom behind them and a river off to the right and a mountain forest off to the left with the sun in one corner and the moon in the other. So it was really like an old school mural. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well.
So they got all the sheep and all the shepherds back.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how old the story is.
But they were living there. That's the crazy part. Is the dragons come up and snatch them, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, help yourself to the buffet." I know we come across really angry. We're really just nice guys. We're all about sheep rights.
Yeah, but the dragons were ruling them. That was theirs. So technically,
because they're all about sheep rights.
So anyway,
free sheep.
So Sebastian had never seen anything like this. It was an empire bigger than the realm of the king he serves.
Yeah, that little bitch.
Sebastian goes over and talks to the shepherds, and he tells them, "Come with me to see the king." They walk with Sebastian back to the entrance, but stop because they see the dragon that has imprisoned them. Sebastian sees their fear of the dragon and walks over to the dragon and cuts its last head off. Dick.
That's rude. That was your homie. He pled for mercy. Mercy? I'm a dragon.
Yeah, but we're human. We kill things.
Yeah, but we shouldn't kill the dragon that's our friend.
When he returned to the king and he told him what had happened, he said that the cave now belonged to him. And as a reward for freeing the shepherd... Okay, fuck, I fucking wrote that wrong. I was so drunk. So he told the fucking king what had happened, and he was like, "Well, keep the fucking cave, because it's right there."
You can have the cave. Go for it. It's just a cave. It's not a kingdom bigger than mine.
The king also quickly realizes that Sebastian is a great man of courage and strength, and he decides to give Sebastian his daughter.
Take my daughter to the cave under the bridge.
Well, with fairness, like, he knows his daughter's going to be right there underneath the bridge. Mm-hmm. She has her own little fucking realm. Mm-hmm. Send some fucking help out there. Get some farmers out there. Start tilling the land up there. Some woodworking up in there.
Tilling the pocket dimension. Growing some succulents, some alien plants.
So what did you think? Were you enthralled?
Yeah. I imagine that they are growing weird plants there, too.
I try so hard not to say anything to you about this.
I know. It's all been a secret, folks. I'm hearing this first right now
I just really want you to be
Don't think I've heard this before.
Yeah.
I just got an inkling that Pinocchio was somewhere.
Yep.
And the dragons were coming.
That's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, keep going.
All right.
Keep going.
Next one is...
Oh, wait, was that all of it? That was his happily ever after with the cave?
Yeah, he accepts the daughter's hand in marriage, and they celebrate their wedding that very day and lived happily ever after.
Oh, that's
The end.
nice. Yeah. I thought he would have done something with that pocket dimension, though.
That's where him and his
I'm going to add something to the story. The door closed, and it will open in 1,000 years.
Jesus. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
It's called Wooden Peter.
Yeah.
I told you. It's a wooden boy.
Pinocchio's real name was Wooden Peter. I can see why they changed it for Disney. Yeah. Wooden Peter, come over here.
So there once lived a farmer and his wife, and these good people did not have any children, though it clearly made the husband quite sad. And so one day the farmer said to his wife, "I'm going off to the forest to carve us a child made of wood." His wife laughed at him, but still helped him bundle his things together and wished him good luck. You haven't got
wood in 10 years, Geppetto.
As she still helped him gather his shit, wished him good luck, and gave him a kiss goodbye. He set off into the forest and walked and walked. He finally came across 4 wood carvers in a field of fallen trees. "Good blessings to you all this fine day," says the farmer to the woodsman.
"Good blessings.
I came to get a small piece of wood."
"I came to find the way to get wood."
So the woodsman cut the farmer a log the size of a small child, and the farmer began carving out the child. It was
a log the size of a baby's arm.
Dude, like the picture it showed like a little wooden Peter on a wooden Peter.
Yeah, he's got a dog.
I was like, he had a little tiny dick.
He's
itty
got
bitty balls.
little balls.
I was like, that's so fucking.
And that's what grows when he lies. Oh, Peter, lie to me.
Nice. It was just past dusk when the farmer returned home with his wooden boy. When the wife saw it, she just laughed and told her husband to wash his hands and sit down for dinner.
"Wash your hands, you old fuck."
When they had finished, there was a little left over, and the wife even chuckles and says to her husband, "That's just enough for our son."
Just enough for the
Then they went to
son.
bed, with the little wooden boy tucked underneath the sheets between them.
Oh.
That is fucking weird to me.
They got splinters.
No. Around midnight.
Especially if his little wooden dongler's still out.
That's so odd. Around midnight.
They put pants on him.
Oh my god. Well, no, because he's walking around fucking cool.
Are they all sleep naked together?
No, they had like nightgowns on.
Okay, that's good.
They both had like long. Even the
That's
man had
good.
like the same one. Like it looked like a dress.
Mm-hmm. Nightgowns.
So around midnight.
Let's bring them back, boys.
The little wooden boy opened his eyes and called out to his mother, saying, "Mother, mother, dear, are you sound asleep?"
"Mother, mother, what the fuck?"
And at that, the farmer and his wife both awoke with great surprise to see their wooden boy come to life.
Throw it in the fire!
Well, I guess there could have been a fairy, but nobody fucking knows anything.
Nobody knows.
How the fuck did he just suddenly come to life, dude? It never says.
All their love and the food.
They stayed awake all night long.
And the woodcutters were magic.
And in the morning, they took the boy to be baptized by the priest.
Let's put the God in this boy.
And the priest named the child Wooden Peter.
This is Wooden Peter for the Johnson between his legs.
And with his naming, over his wooden body, a layer of skin went over Peter's body. Although he appeared human on the outside, he was still made of wood on the inside.
Oh, okay.
When Peter became 3 days old, he asked his father if he could go out and find a friend to play with.
"Can I find a friend, Papa?"
"Of course," says his father. And Peter went outside. He literally only made it past the front gate, and there was another little boy outside. Wooden Peter introduces himself and asks the boy. Wow. No, it's a little bit weirder. He asks the boy, "Hey, do you know if there is a sword maker in this town?" And the little boy says, "Of course there is," and points down the road. So Peter, Wooden Peter, quickly runs back inside and says to his father, "Father, father, please may I have 8 florins?" His dad laughs and hands him 12 and says, "You can have whatever you need."
"You take whatever you need, you weird little skin-over-wood child."
Wooden Peter hands 4 florins back to his father and says, "All I need is 8, and off he went back outside where his new friend was still waiting. And his friend ran with him all the way down to the town's sword maker. So they live inside a town?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With a sword maker.
Mm-hmm.
What does he need a sword for?
He's a little boy.
I guess I will find out.
Wouldn't you want a sword as a little boy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I have $10. I need to go to the store for candy. It's not at all to buy ninja weapons.
Exactly. I'm like, you're a little boy. You can understand this guy's fucking thoughts. I imagine that's what's
First thing
happen.
when he steps out the door. Yeah, I'll be good, Dad. Let's get some weapons and throw them at each other. I've got wood under my skin. I'll be fine.
Wooden Peter goes inside solo and says to the sword maker, "Good day to you, sword maker. I was hoping that you still had the first sword that you had ever made. I wish to offer you 8 florins for it." The old, super muscular sword maker ponders for a moment.
Buff.
Dude, like the picture that they showed was like...
Bro.
Cracked out fucking bodybuilder, like 8 muscles on top of each other.
Yeah, he's a blacksmith.
With like a long gray bush. Bald.
Bald.
One-eyed.
One-eyed bald.
He did. And I was like, what the
Blacksmith.
fuck? This looks like one of those dwarf pictures that you see in all those little Warcraft shit that you play.
He's a dwarf. He's a dwarven blacksmith, level 45.
Mm-hmm. He goes over and ponders for a moment and walks over to 10 barrels full of swords, and starts rummaging through. After a few minutes, he finally found it, and he presents it to Wooden Peter. It was a rusted short sword, very old indeed. And the sword maker also gave Wooden Peter an awesomely designed sheath for the sword.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sheath thine sword, weird wooden child.
And when Wooden Peter strapped it on, it looked like the sword was made especially for him.
Oh, little guy's got a little sword.
Incredibly pleased, he hands the sword maker the 8 florins and thanks him, and then goes home. The next day, 4 days old, Wooden Peter and his father were walking through the town, and they came across a large gathering of people. In the middle of the crowd were 2 magical oxen, which one held the sunrise in its horns and the other held the sunset in its. There was a large golden chain wrapped around the 2 oxen's horns. They overheard some of the men say that whoever could cut the chain could take the oxen home as their own. So Wooden Peter steps up and says, "If you will all permit me, I would like to cut the chain."
Let me break the chains that bind.
With this rusted sword.
With my rusty sword and my Wooden Peter.
The men all chuckled and tell him to go ahead and try his luck. So
Go
Wooden
for
Peter
it,
walked
kid.
up to the oxen, took out his old rusted sword, and swung twice. Ping! Ping!
Ping, 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 ping.
And the golden chain broke. And its noise of hitting the chains were heard throughout the land. The oxen took off trotting down the road and did not stop until they got to the stables outside of the town. The previous owner of the oxen was an old wizard who congratulated Wooden Peter in his triumph and says to Wooden Peter, "You should know that the oxen only eat burning embers. Off you go, young lad. Take care of them."
That sounds hard.
So Wooden Peter runs down to the stables and gets a giant empty water pail and gathers 12 bundles of wood. He sets the wood on fire, and when they become burning embers, he shovels the embers into the empty water pail and filled it. The 2 oxen ate them all.
Powered.
The 2 oxen ate them all, and one of the oxen ran off to where the sun rises, and the other oxen ran off to where the sun set. Wooden Peter goes home and tells his father to come outside, and he does. And then Wooden Peter poked 2 pillars just outside his front door, on either side of the door. So 2 pillars outside his door. Pokes
2 pillars.
Pokes one each.
2 pillars.
And from one of the pillars began flowing delicious red wine.
Red,
And from
red
the other
wine.
was a sweet brandy.
Brandy. You're a fine
Hungarians, man. His father is astonished, and Wooden Peter says to him, "Look, father, now everyone can drink to their heart's content." Then Wooden Peter points to the working plow and says to his father,
You want me to plow that? Anybody gonna plow that plow? Thing looks fucking sexy. I'm made of wood. It's
God.
made of wood. I mean,
no anal.
no anal. No anal. That's the rules to plowing the fields.
Oh my God. He
Plowing
says,
the plow.
Okay.
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 Okay. Okay.
Nice. So, do you see that working plow over there? Yes, my son, says the father. And Peter smiles and points to the other direction and says, Do you see that millstone over there? Yes, my boy, indeed I do, says his father. Wooden Peter looks to his father and says, When the working plow stands in front of the house and the millstone jumps into it of its own accord, the wine will turn to water and the brandy will turn to blood, and you will know that I am dead. If you wish to find my body, simply sit on the working plow.
Just sit on that fucking plow.
And it will take you to where I am. Now I must be off to see the world and try my fortunes.
I must bail on you. I know the only reason I'm here is because you really wanted children, but I'm a free man. You can't bind me.
I feel like this is only day 4 for him, you know what I mean?
You can't bind me, girl.
Many years go by, and Wooden Peter becomes a man. He magically grew and had a mustache now.
Mustachioed Peter. Is he still wood under the skin?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's sweet when he's out fucking doing stuff.
I don't know. So,
I mean, because he could think about it, especially if it's the time of like bows and arrows, right? And I see why he only needs a rusty sword. If everyone's just shooting bows at him, the arrows are just sticking in the wood, and he's just walking up, just slice, slice, slice. He probably knows about tetanus too.
I fucking hate you sometimes.
So they're all like, he just barely cut us and walked away with all the arrows. Yeah, they slow died by tetanus.
So you're thinking if he lies? He'll just take him out with his lies.
Just take him out with his lies. Bam! Lie!
If he just gets a big enough lie, you know.
Just a big enough lie.
You just swing that around and it's pretty much like a bat.
Yeah, it's a good point. He could just impale someone. Lie boner, go!
He crossed 7 lands and 7 seas until he came across a large town that had a king. He makes his way to the king and introduces himself and says, Good day to you, your majesty.
Good day to you.
And the old king smiles at him and says, Welcome. What sort of journey are you on, young man? And Wooden Peter replies, I set off to be in service, to try my fortune.
It's a real coming-of-age type of story.
So the king asks, And how much would you require for the year? And Wooden Peter replies, Nothing at all, your majesty. The only thing I need is food, drink, and lodging. And so Wooden Peter stayed in town and worked as a carpenter. He was so clever with his hands that the old king took a liking to him.
That seems like an interesting job for a man made out of wood. I wonder if every time he pounds a board, he like leans in first and whispers to it like, I'm sorry.
You won't feel this in the morning.
You won't feel this. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so now the king had a daughter. Okay. I said that wrong. The king had a daughter.
The king had a daughter.
Who fell in love with Wooden Peter.
Yeah, she did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real dudes would come up and she'd be like, Nah, I've got this thing in my room. It's plenty cool.
She thought that she would die if she wasn't allowed to marry him.
I will just die if I cannot marry that Wooden Peter.
I don't know why, but when I read this story, I thought of like Princess Blossom from fucking Crossing Swords, like just super. No,
I'll die if
bitches.
I can't marry him. I want to marry him.
Kiefer. I don't know why. Okay.
Is his name Kiefer?
No.
It's Wooden Peter.
Peter.
No.
Oh, Peter.
I want that Wooden Peter. Oh, real Peter's not the same. I like the splinters.
Well then, said the king.
Well then, all right about
We can't
that.
have you dying on us, so I will allow you to give your hand to him and become his wife. I will announce the great wedding feast, and you two will be wed. Nearly a year after the wedding, the king receives a letter telling him to gather all able bodies and prepare them to go to war.
Prepare your bodies that are able for the war that will befall them.
After reading the letter, the king began to weep. And Wooden Peter goes to the king and says, Do not worry, royal father. I will go alone to the war. And the king
will slay
sighs
this shit.
and says to him, My son, what can you do all by yourself? You would be like a fly versus a bison.
I'm Wooden Peter, motherfucker.
But Wooden Peter insisted and left solo. When he got to the battlefield, Wooden Peter started swinging his sword violently and took out one after the other. Though he was stabbed quite often, he was still made of wood. And he was down to the last 100 soldiers, and Wooden Peter tripped over a trench and fell.
Ah!
The soldiers took advantage and axed off Wooden Peter's head and buried him alive.
Not cool, guys.
Well, he wasn't alive. They took off
cool,
his head.
But he's probably still alive.
buried him.
He's a boy, huh?
Hang on.
Okay.
We still got
we're
more.
still going. I'm just saying.
In the morning, as
Wooden
the light
Peter's a
was
beast.
dawning, at the farmer's home,
The light was dawning at the farmer's home.
the working plow made its way to in front of the farmer's door. And the millstone
Hey, big
came
boy,
and jumped into it of its own
ride?
accord. The wine turned to water and the brandy turned to blood.
Oh, I was drinking
And when
that.
the farmer came outside, he saw what he saw, and he became very sad. He sat down on the working plow.
I wonder if any of the brandy that was still in his mouth and body turned to blood, too.
Oh,
He's like drinking the brandy.
I don't think so. I think it just starts to change suddenly.
Oh,
So,
God. Oh.
Really, when it comes to the wine, you had like
Mhm.
2 seconds to get that shit out from underneath.
Yeah.
You know,
I bet he was so stoked because the ants.
dude.
Thank God. But they're still coming for the blood.
So he sat down on the working plow, and the plow flew into the air and traveled for some time before setting him down
Plow away!
near the buried body. The farmer searched high and low for him, but he could not find his son's body. Then he saw the 2 oxen come from opposite directions, holding the sons in their horns. The 2 oxen began turning the soil and with their horns, until they uncovered Peter's body.
It's the wood boy.
One of the oxen put Wooden Peter's body back together, and the other oxen returned his soul to him. And suddenly, Wooden Peter awoke and stretched his arm and says,
Motherfuckers, I'm back! Wooden Peter in this bitch!
No, he said, I slept so good.
Yeah, it was just a nice nap.
You would have slept forever if it hadn't been for us, said one of the oxen. And then they all went home, and the king crowned Wooden Peter king. And him and his queen lived happily ever after. End. Shit.
He stayed wood forever.
Yeah.
Interesting. He never got unwood.
No, he was always
And that's
wood.
why the girl loved him.
Probably. She
Yeah.
fucking can't get no Stevens.
Yeah, she's like, he is literally always hard.
I don't know. Do you think we have time for one more?
It's up to you, lady.
Or we can
You're the
just fucking
storyteller.
pounce this one out another time.
I'm just a guy over here.
I think I'm going to call it.
Okay.
It was a great night.
It was a great night.
Great
We
couple
got some
stories.
good hungry folk tales.
We'll come
right?
back. We'll come back and do another one.
We'll come back and do another. We'll do another short.
Mhm.
Also, let us know. Please let us know if you guys are liking the shorts. If you're liking the longs, what you're liking, what you're not liking. Give us suggestions. As always.
Like and subscribe.
Yep. And yeah.
Hit that button.
Hit that button. We got more content on the way. We're all over the place. Don't forget to check out all the other good Howley Boys content that we have around. And, yeah. Oh, our sources for this episode were Hungarian Folktales, a YouTube channel. It's yellow with a little red bird.
It's an interesting. Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, if you guys are digging us, I guarantee you guys will dig some of the shit that they do. They got little old school animations. Reminds me of
Schoolhouse Rock.
No, the old Robin Hood, but not with animals. The Disney Robin Hood, that style of animation.
Yeah. Okay.
Super old school. But yeah. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for always listening. Thank you for being a part of this. And, yeah.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.